My name is Emmy, and I'm an erotic playmate. I'm a live cam performer, and my cam name is EmeraldOstara. And so I engage with people on in their erotic fantasies on the internet. So in live real time cam shows, and I make videos for people based on their fantasies. I sell my panties and other goodies that people might want, some gently worn goodies. And yeah, I have the honor of just really connecting with people on their sexual fantasies.
How did you get started in this industry?
Yeah, so I was doing some fetish work previous to working on the internet. I was doing some in-person fetish type work. And the first person who I ever played with in that sense was a very, very sweet man who asked if he could worship my feet. and yeah, he was just very sweet and wonderful. And that turned into some other in-person fetish work. And then something happened, and we won't go into the details, but I lost access to my client information. I lost access to my client base. And truth be told, I went to a psychic. I went to a psychic clairvoyant. I'm telling you the real story of how I ended up here, because this is really what it is. I went to a psychic, and I didn't know that camming existed. I didn't know that the industry existed. I knew about pornography. I knew about pre-recorded pornography, but I didn't know that live camming existed. And so I went to her and I said, boo-hoo, I lost my client base and I don't know what to do. And she said, join one of those sex websites. And I was like, sex website? What is that? What is that? And so she told me what camming was. And I want to really convey her tone, and just her whole bearing was just this very maternal, like just really caring figure. And I really felt like she was tapping into something, and we won't go into it, but she was right about a lot of other things too. And so I went home and I started applying for just different websites. And here we are. What has it been? I think 6 years later, I'm a full-time webcam performer.
You were able to do this full-time. Are you still doing any other type of in-person or any other type of sex work, or are you fully online now?
Yeah, I'm actually fully online now. Yeah, I'm fully remote.
And how does your experience with being completely online compare or differ from your previous experience? Is there one that you've grown to prefer, or what are some of the differences and similarities?
I think that I've delved a lot deeper with people in the online work. And that might be in part because I'm older now, and my concept of what the work is and what I can provide to people has expanded over time. And some of the in-person work that I did was of the wham bam thank you ma'am variety, and that's fine too. I mean, yeah, more power to everyone. But yeah, that's great too. But I feel like, for whatever reasons, the remote work has allowed me the space to really communicate with people on a deeper level, and get to know them over time, because I would travel to do in-person work. And there were some people with whom I learned a lot about them and their life, and deeply connected with them. But I would say that the online work has allowed me to do that with greater numbers of people.
That's really interesting. And that's definitely something that I hear from models a lot, which is that there is something about the components of being at a distance, so to speak, that sometimes brings people closer. And when I've interviewed members about what that could be, because I think it's the safety of knowing that if something goes wrong or they feel rejected or some type of thing they don't want to feel, it's very easy for them. They have control to just exit out. And so that creates this net of safety that I think sometimes allows them to go deeper. And it's interesting how sometimes that known distance actually allows you to come closer together. And just to give a little bit of background on how our interview came to be, I interviewed Dr. Karen Beal, who recommended you. And, she said that you have such a strong grasp on the deeper layers of this industry and what many members are really looking for beyond just what's obvious, which is the sexual component. And that's kind of what we've also started to notice is probably the bigger factor in this industry that's not talked about, that a lot of people don't know. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the Kinsey Institute has been doing a lot of research on Live Jasmine's user base. And they've said that what they found is that the calls that lasted the longest, the models who were making the most money, were talking a lot about day-to-day life with the members. They were connecting on things that were almost mundane. A lot of it was not, the long calls were not explicit. What has been your experience?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I wanted to say Dr. Karen Beal is absolutely wonderful. And I'm so blessed to have her be a colleague of mine. And she's greatly enriched my life, just knowing her. My experience has been that being an erotic performer on the internet is very much about creating that safe space, like you said. And I feel like everything you said about the distance, the built-in distance that allows people to actually be more intimate is right on point. Absolutely. And well, I found that in the beginning, truth be told, I wore a wig and a mask. I was concerned about internet privacy. I was nervous about the level of exposure being on webcam. And the wig and the mask quickly came off as I got into camming. And I've also, for what it's worth, I wear a lot less makeup than I did at the beginning. So I think more and more I am showing people, my everyday self. And I've also let people into my other things that I do with my day. Sometimes I work out on cam, and I've been thinking about cooking on cam and different things. But certainly, I mean, the ways that I connect with people are often not so much about me and them in a sexual situation. Oftentimes it is, but a lot of the time it's about creating a space for them to show me something about their sexuality, or for them to share a secret with me, right? So it's not so much about me being the object of their desire so much as connecting with them on something that they needed to express, but that they weren't able to express in other areas of their life. So yeah, I think that what you're saying is really on point. And I did read about the Kinsey study on the Life in Red website. I think it's so great that's happening and that this is being studied.
Do you think that most people who are engaging or members that are on cam sites, if you could guess, obviously we're not doing real surveys, but what percentage of them would you say are there to be seen and heard, no matter like how that manifests, that being that root and that core? What percentage of them would you say?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I guess in terms of the people who come to me, I would say, 80 to 90% of folks, I mean, there's some people who are really just looking to see a part of my body that gets them off. And that's great. And I definitely don't want to downplay that. And like what I'm saying is my chats with people don't have to be transcendent in any way to be like valid and wonderful. Like if it's just frankly a quick nut while they watch my ass bounce, that's great. But I would say that yes, the majority of folks who are coming to me are coming in some way to be seen, whether on a deeper level, whether that's a lot of my clients are exploring sexuality, orientation, gender. A lot of my clients are exploring that. Other clients are coming to be seen anatomically. They have a lot of questions, anxieties about their body, and they want to engage deeply talking about like their physical body. It's such an honor to engage with folks in that respect. Now, some of those clients have the latter, the folks who are coming to be seen in their body, they've fetishized a certain reaction that they want me to have to their body. And then other times, and sometimes it's the same person, different day, other times they want to engage really honestly and just like no fetish role play, nothing. It could vary by the day with what the person wants.
Sometimes I wonder, and I believe that so many members on campsites are there because it is a place where you're allowed to talk about sex, your fantasies, your body. Like you can talk about these things, and there aren't many places, honestly, where we have that. As I do these interviews, I really think about it through the lens of even my own life, and I'm like, okay, well, how many places do I have where I can just go and talk about sex? Well, not many, maybe just a really close group of girlfriends, you know what I mean? But that's about it. Like, we don't have many resources when it comes to sex yet, but we have resources or sexuality or even our anatomy. But we have many resources when it comes to every other vital part of our health and well-being. But does this, let's say there's a member who wants to talk about something on their body in general, would you say members like that have many other options or people to talk to about their fantasies? Are they partnered, maybe single or?
Yeah, I tend to think that pornography and live webcam playmate interactions, like the ones that people have with me, are being utilized by a broad cross section of people. I think that sometimes we tend to think that it's a certain kind of person who uses pornography, or it's only desperate people or people who are not partnered. And I tend to get the impression, without having done the official surveys, that it's a really broad cross section of wonderful human beings who are using this kind of site.
Do you feel like the members that come to see you have many outlets to talk about sex or anatomy?
Right. No, no, I don't feel that way. And we're so hung up on the human body, and it's like it's just a body, it's just a body. Everybody gets one when they come here, so you rent it, and it's not yours to keep forever, but you have it for a while. It changes, and it's not always the way that you want it to be, but you love the one that you get. And it's they don't have a lot of places to talk about that. And especially because most of my clients are male-bodied folks. There are a lot of questions about penises in particular, and how does my penis compare to average or to other men's penises? There's a lot of questions and a lot of emotions around that. Yeah.
You've been online for 6 years. That's a decent amount of time. What is it that you enjoy about what it is that you do?
I just really enjoy the creativity of my clients. I have on my profile that I love weird requests, or so-called weird requests. I love creative or unusual requests, is what I say. And yeah, I just find that my clients are just so creative with the role plays that they come up with, and what gets them going, and what pushes them over the edge into orgasm. It's just so varied, and I just really enjoy the creativity of it, and just learning, just being led into their world in that way. It's really wonderful.
You're someone who is dealing with people's sexuality every day.
Mhm.
And you see firsthand some of the things that are out there that a lot of the world doesn't. With that knowledge, are there any misperceptions or misunderstandings that you feel like we have culturally around human sexuality that you've seen otherwise in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few big ones that I can think of right off the bat. I think one of the misperceptions that really mires a lot of people in shame that they don't need to have is that you are what gets you off. Like your fetish, your desire, your kinky role play that you like is who you are ultimately. And I think what I believe is that it's not, or at least not necessarily. If you choose to make a kink or a fetish something that ultimately defines you, then okay. But it doesn't ultimately define who you are. For example, if you want to be submissive and spanked in a bedroom or fetish role play type situation, that doesn't mean that you want to be the target of emotional or physical abuse in your everyday waking life. And I think sometimes we mire ourselves in shame because we think, if I like this kinky thing in bed, then that has to ultimately define me as a person. I must be messed up, like I must be messed up somehow. And I don't buy that. I don't buy that. So I think that's one of them. And then other misperceptions. So this this is kind of complicated, but there are a lot of misperceptions around female sexual response, and for that matter, male sexual response that that play into pornography and webcamming and what's requested, and therefore what sells, and a lot of male body shame also has to do with that kind of body of misinformation where female orgasms are supposed to be 1,001% dependent on larger than average penises. And so that's another misperception that informs a great deal of pornography and a great deal of what's requested on webcamming. And so as somebody who wants to eliminate shame and speak the truth about female sexual response, it's a fine line for me to straddle, because when I'm just like kicking back and connecting with my clients and people who come to hang out with me in like the free chat area of the website, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to flirt with them and flirt with them and engage with them on their fetishes, but I'm going to be honest about female sexual response, and female orgasms come from the clitoris, not from oversized penises. And at the same time, I'm not there to correct them. So when we go into a fantasy fetish type situation and they want for my orgasm in the role play to be dependent on a larger than average penis, it's my role is to be radically available to that fantasy exactly as it is. No correction, no like word from our sex education sponsor, like nothing, nothing like that. And so, yeah, that's another misperception. And then of course on the flip side of that is just a lot of preoccupation with is my penis good enough? It's like, does it feel good when you touch it? Then it's good enough, So yeah, there's a lot of misperception there as well.
Do you ever have members who come to you for advice and they're like, hey, I just got into a fight with my partner. Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been the confidant of a great deal of my clients. Yeah, that happens a lot. And yeah, I hold a lot of their secrets and know a lot of their life stories. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you manage and balance knowing so much about so many different people? Is it sometimes tough on you? Are there things that you have put into place to make sure that you also are taking care of your mental health and that type of thing?
Yeah. Well, going back to the psychic, she told me to take lots of baths. And so I do that. I take lots of baths and as much as I can, I take my baths with essential oil and yeah. I try to take them out and yeah. Honestly, my yeah, I mean, sometimes people tell me things and it does stay with me for a long time, but ultimately I just really value it. It's not so much a burden. It's more like I just really value that they've chosen to confide in me because I've made myself available to talk about sex. Like you said, there are very few outlets for people to do that. What's been more difficult for me is honestly the physicality of my job. And I'm somebody who does not like deep, hard, fast vaginal penetration, at least not without a lot of prep work. And like even hearing myself say it out loud, it's like, why are you in porn? So, but yeah, I've still managed to be here. And what I've done over time is I've started to do certain things and change my offerings to limit certain physical things that are very difficult for me. And in the beginning, I'll admit I didn't do what I needed to do to like set boundaries in that respect, but I've learned to do that over time and learn to make my work just a lot more physically comfortable for me and make the demands on my physicality just a lot more manageable.
From your perspective, if you could summarize into one or two words what you believe is the main benefit that you provide for members, what would you say that it is?
Yeah, you've probably heard this one before, but connection. In my mentor, Dr. Juliana Hauser, who has the Revealed course, which is a course in holistic sexuality for adults. She always says, we're here to connect. And I am right on the same page with her. And yeah, it would be connection, intimate connection. If I can use two words, it would be intimate connection. Yeah.
What if there's someone listening, they're like, what? Connecting? How does stripping down on the internet cause you to connect with people?
Right. I think that there's also a deeper seeing that's going on, or at least the opening for it. Not everyone is going to use it for that, and again, that's okay too. But yeah, there is the opportunity and the possibility for a deeper seeing happening there in both directions. Honestly, yeah.
And to be fair, the research that's being done on Live Jasmine's platform is showing that the models who take the time and the direction to connect, they make the most money. Like the models who, if there's a model who's it's only about something explicit or sexual, that those aren't the millionaires. And there are millionaires on the site. There's over 100 Jasmine millionaires. I mean, girls are becoming millionaires on Jasmine. And those models are doing something that is beyond sexual because, as we know, there is free sex online. So if that were the only reason, they wouldn't be paying for your time.
Right. Yeah, that's such a good point. There is so much when I see all of the, free pre-recorded stuff out there, like, it just makes you wonder, why do people come to get live pornography or live cam performances? And the answer is just that, because of that connection, because of that opportunity for real time, deeper seeing. So yeah, I think you're really onto something.
I'm curious, a second ago you said that there can be something deeper on both sides if people see it. And I wanted to ask more about that. Do you feel like you get connection yourself from members?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like it does go in both directions. There is a certain boundary on my part in that I'm there to be available to their fantasies. And that's always my, number one objective. I have to check my motive and, make sure that it's not, just for something that I want to get off my chest. But does that never happen? No. I mean, it certainly serves as a social connection for me as well. And I really enjoy seeing people. I really enjoy like shooting the breeze and hanging out with my clients. So, yeah.
There is a transaction to the relationship. And I think that is what confuses people. I think that some people are like, okay, no, this person is paying to engage with this person. So there's nothing authentic here. But as you know, and as we have seen, that transaction in many times can be completely transcended. And there is something very real and authentic. And if anything, sometimes that transaction helps be the breeding ground for that authenticity because it's so honest and clear what the dynamic is. Like members would have to work hard to confuse the dynamic. And I'm sure that they do. But in general, that transaction makes it clear, And in many relationships, there isn't clarity. There isn't this clarity of like, this is my role and position and this is yours. There's tons of ambiguity. And that's why a lot of people are running out around with their hearts broken. One person thought we're getting married. The other person thought this was just for a fun time. There's not that clarity. And that's one of the things I like about the cam industry is that it is very clear. You're paying for someone's time. The general, I don't want to say subject or topic, but where you're free to go, and at least on our platform, we have very strict rules about people ever meeting in person and that type of thing, which keeps things very, very clear.
Yeah. I like to tell people that, we pay for priceless things all the time. I think it's the sexuality component that really trips people up. And I think that goes back to just a kind of general demonizing of sexuality. But we pay for priceless things all the time. We pay for doctors to save our lives. We pay for counselors to intimately connect with our inner beings. We pay servers in a restaurant more if we felt cared for by them. We pay for priceless things and we pay for how people made us feel all the time. And that doesn't mean that work was not authentic or genuine or sacred on a very real level. Yeah, again, my mentor, Dr. Juliana Hauser, I'm not going to be able to do justice to quite the way she said it, but I remember her saying once that she feels like there's ultimately no such thing as fully unconditional love, because all love is, I forget, she may have said earned on some level. And I think another way of saying that is transactional on some level. And some people might say, oh, well, that sounds awful. But I think there is something to that. I think there's something to the idea that there's always a two-way giving. There's always a level of mutuality, and it can look different. And because there's sex and money involved, two totally loaded things in sex work, we can get really tripped up about that. But there's so many other dynamics where there's that mutuality and something priceless is being exchanged for money.
Is there anything that you wish you had known that you know now before you started?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I guess going back to what I said before, I've set more limits in terms of my physicality, and learned to, not do things that make my physical body uncomfortable or that strain me too much if I do them over time. I don't have to do those things, and I didn't have to do those things even from the very beginning. And I believe that now. um, I was really green and new. Like I said, I didn't know webcamming existed. And frankly, the jobs that I had before were difficult on me physically. A lot of them were, or, or emotionally or in other ways. And I just kind of went into it with this thought that in order to succeed in work, you were going to have to, on some level, be uncomfortable. And I don't want to say suffer, but yeah, kind of like suffer. So, and I wish I had known that, what I do now to make myself more comfortable when I'm camming, I could have done that from the beginning and I would be fine. And also, I wish that I had known that I didn't need to wear the wig or the or the mask or all of those things. I guess literally and figuratively. Definitely, I've relaxed. It was always okay to relax. It was always okay to relax and just kind of hang out and be myself. And yeah, people are going to connect with you. I heard somebody say this. This was decades ago, and I can't remember who it was to give them credit, but they said people are most attractive when they're being themselves. And I really believe that.
They are. And I'm not sure if you are ever connecting when you're not coming from an authentic place, because if you're not being yourself and you're being something else, then you're not getting that feeling of connection because it's not you involved. You know what I mean? And when I interview members, that's something that they all tell me is that they can sense when a model is really into it and when she's not. And so just by being authentic and true to your boundaries, who you are, what you're comfortable with, if you create an environment that is enjoyable for you, that's what they really want. They want to connect from a place where you are enjoying it too. And then that just, yes to everything you said. The authenticity is what breeds real connection. And human beings, I think, are a lot more sensitive to authenticity than we even realize. Even on a subconscious level, we can really sense, oh, I really liked that person, or yeah, something about that person I didn't jive with. We all, like going back to what you said, your mentor said, we all want to connect. And we can get to very deep places when we're being authentic.
I'm so excited to watch more of your member interviews on Life in Red. I've really just dipped into them just a little bit, and I'm so excited to see more of them and see what people have to say.
Is there anything about the industry, camming, sexuality that we didn't talk about, but you want to share?
Gosh, I mean, I guess there's anything else that I can think of. I just want to give a shout out to somebody who's influenced my perspective on sexuality very deeply, which is a social systems scientist named Rian Eisler. And since Life in Red is really interested in hard data, and which I don't have to give to you, that's for Dr. Karen Beal, and that's for Rian Eisler. But Rian Eisler wrote a book called Sacred Pleasure. And sacred pleasure deals with the shift that we made from seeing sexuality as this just part of life and part of being human and part of nature and part of just a holistic view of what life is, into seeing sex and sexuality as something naughty or dirty. And that kind of went hand in hand with seeing human beings and our very nature as somehow sinful or fallen or bad. And a lot of people seem to think that human nature is just by definition greedy and insensitive, and we want to dominate one another. And domination can be great as like a fetish fantasy role play, but it's not how we are at our core. At our core, it's like Dr. Juliana said, we're here to connect. We want to connect. We're here to be compassionate towards one another. And yeah, again, I really commend what Life in Red is doing, and the information that you're getting out there and the misconceptions that you're debunking and human faces that you're putting on these things in this industry. So yeah, it's deeply appreciated by me.
What's something you're the most grateful for in your life right now?
Oh gosh. So many things. Gosh, so many things. But I think I have a really strong and loving community of friends. Yeah. So I would say friendship, connections and friendship. And yeah, I'm really grateful and lucky that I have people who I can confide in. And yeah, when we take care of each other. So, yeah.
Absolutely. That is, in my opinion, one of the greatest treasures of life. So, thank you so much.
This has been awesome. Congratulations again on just everything that you're doing with Life in Red and escaping from traditional media and doing something that is truly enriching for your life and others. So yeah, it has been really great. It's been such a great chat with you.